All right, good morning, everybody. What's going on? How's it going? Canelo Crawford, 2 weeks away. Getting really excited. And as you all know from people who have been talking about this fight, the one big narrative that everyone keeps talking about and mentions when they're making their assessment of this fight is the size, right? And I understand it. I get why people are talking about it. Crawford only did have one fight at 154, right? Canelo's had a good amount of fights at 168. I believe he's had 10 fights at 168, or I think 10 or 12 fights at 168. He's had a few at 160. And you've even heard people say that Canelo's really not a 168 pounder. He's more of a 160 pounder. And I agree with that. I don't think is really technically a super middleweight. Obviously, he's a super middleweight because he fights at the weight class, but he has more of the dimensions of a middleweight, more along the lines of Marvin Hagler size, as opposed to a super middleweight like a Kyle Froch or an Andre Ward would be. So his dimensions more or less fit 160 pounds. And one could even argue, well, probably not 154, but 160 because he's up there in age. He's filled out a little bit. Now, Crawford, even when he was at 147, he was mentioning that he was having problems making the weight. And after the Spence fight, he told people, even before the Spence fight, that he was moving up to 154. He said that the 147 was not an easy weight cut for him, and he did move up to 154. And he had that one fight with Madrimov, and here we are with Canelo, right? But again, let's get back to the size because if you look at the height and the reach, Crawford's actually bigger. Crawford's about 5'8", 5'8.5", with a 74-inch reach, and Canelo Alvarez is 5'7", 5'7.5", with a 70-inch reach. So Crawford has like a 3.5, 4-inch reach advantage, and he uses his reach. Crawford has an excellent jab. He knows how to gauge range very well, and we've seen Canelo have problems with guys who can pot shot him on the outside, right? We've seen Floyd Mayweather have great success keeping him at the end of the jab, lining him up for the right hand on the outside. We've seen Bivol do the same thing. And even Irislandi Lara, because this is a fight that I'm going to point to, and I think Crawford versus Canelo is going to have a lot of similarities to Lara versus Canelo. And Lara is pretty much the same size as Crawford, right? Lara's he's got a 75-inch reach. He's like 5'9". Crawford's 5'8", 5'8.5". He's got a 74, 74.5-inch reach. So they're almost identical in size. But if you go back and watch that fight, many people, myself included, thought Lara won the fight. I mean, it was a competitive fight. You could argue it was close. Most people thought Lara won that fight, right? I'm not going to argue about it. It was a competitive fight. You can argue maybe it was close, but Lara was really, really frustrating Canelo because he kept peppering him with the jab, and Canelo had a hard time because Lara had quicker feet, moves a little bit better than Canelo, and you could see a lot of that subtle movement from the outside. He would just take that little half step, keep his range, but he would never stand directly in front of Canelo for too long. And then when Canelo got close, he wrapped him up and he froze the action, right? I'm not saying Canelo didn't get his stuff off, but for the most part, I thought one key punch, as is most of the time in boxing, the old cliche that the jab is the most important punch, but not all the time do fighters fully utilize that jab. Crawford is one of those fighters that fully utilizes that jab, and he's got an excellent jab, and he very accurate jab. He can use it in many different ways, just like Lara can. And I thought Lara really, really was peppering Canelo with that jab. He was really frustrating him with that jab. It was really distracting and breaking Canelo's rhythm throughout the course of that fight. And another weapon that Lara has, and I believe Crawford has as well, is that right hook, right? We've seen Crawford have great success with that right hook, particularly in the Spence fight, and even in that Kell Brook fight. That was the fight changing punch. And when you look at a southpaw, and Crawford does fight southpaw in a lot of his fights, and I think he'll fight southpaw in this fight probably. I think he'll fight Canelo southpaw the whole fight, just like he fought Spence southpaw the whole fight. I think he'll have a similar strategy in that regard. But one punch that both he and Irislandi Lara have, and they use it very effectively in the southpaw stance, is that right hook. And you don't see a lot of fighters who are southpaws really have great signature right hooks. It's not a punch, a weapon of choice for southpaws. Most southpaws, like Manny Pacquiao, Paul Williams, they're known for their left hands. Regis Prograis is another guy, great left hand. So we see guys that southpaws mostly left hands, right? So you know I see this fight having a lot of similarities, and I think it can play out similar to how Irislandi Lara Canelo Alvarez played out. That's how I think this fight is going to go. Where I think Crawford, for the most part, will try to keep Canelo at the end of the jab, try to fight this fight at range. And Canelo's never been known to have the quickest feet, and his feet have not gotten quicker as he's moved up and put on the weight. And also, he's had some wear and tear on that knee, that right knee. He had some surgeries on that. Had an injury, I think, on his, I want to say it was his left wrist. Had some surgery on that. Turned pro at 15 years old. So he's got some miles on him, right? So I think you can argue Crawford is older, but I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think there's less wear and tear on Crawford because he's had less fights. Turned pro at 20, whereas Canelo Alvarez turned pro at 15. So, I think that Crawford's probably the fresher of the two, has less miles. And I actually think even despite him at 37, he's going to be 38 in September. I think a week or two after the fight. Um, I think he's closer to his prime than Canelo is. I think Canelo, if you look at Canelo over the years, last couple fights, you could see some slippage there. Whereas with Crawford, I don't see much slippage, right? And when you say exchange, Raphael, what do you mean that he's gonna sit there and go rock'em sock'em robots? No, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think that he'll exchange, but I think he'll be getting off first, and he'll be probably getting the better of the exchanges because I think he's got the quicker hands, and I think he throws more in combination than Canelo does. So when you look at Canelo, one punch that Canelo has abandoned is the jab. You don't see Canelo throw a ton of jabs at all anymore. He never really was a huge jabber, but he's throwing it a lot less. We've seen Sergey Kovalev, even though he got knocked out, a lot of people had him winning that fight up until the point of the stoppage because he was able to keep him at the end of that jab. And we've seen Sergey Kovalev even give Andre Ward problems with that jab. Like, he has a great jab, Sergey Kovalev, Dmitry Bivol, and I'll go back to Irislandi Lara, and even Austin Trout. We've seen Austin Trout was peppering him with the jab. So I think Crawford is going to be using the jab in overtime, and I think the sneak punch, the secret weapon, is going to be that right hook, right? Just like it was for Irislandi Lara. He was landing a lot of sneaky right hooks that were kind of buzzing. I'm not going to say they were hurting Canelo to the point where they were freezing him in his tracks, but they were getting his attention and they were opening up the straight left down the pike, right? Now, let's talk about Boots Ennis being brought into camp here, right? Is Boots Ennis the same as Terence Crawford? No, there's some similarities, obviously, but I'm going to tell you some stark differences in my opinion. I do think Crawford's a better inside fighter than Boots Ennis. I think he goes to the body a little bit more, whereas Boots likes the mid. Boots likes to fight from the outside primarily. He can mix it up a little bit in the mid range, but doesn't seem too comfortable on the inside, right? Whereas Crawford, I think, has no problem when need be fighting on the inside. He can dig to the body, and he seems a little bit more capable. I won't even say a little bit. He just seems better on the inside than Boots Ennis. And Crawford has a lot of sneaky uppercuts that he likes to throw on the inside. Boots more or less is a mid range to outside fighter for the most part. I do think Crawford's a better counterpuncher than Boots. Boots likes to take the lead. He likes to get off first a lot. Crawford sometimes, like if you go and you look at the Spence fight, laid back a little bit and he played the counterpuncher role. Where Boots likes to take the lead, likes to get off first with the jab, and he likes to pot shot from the outside. So, and we've seen Crawford fight and win fights in so many different ways. Where Canelo, obviously, he's a very talented fighter, but if he doesn't hurt a guy early, or if he decides that he's just going to coast in a fight, then he just coasts. And we've seen him just kind of plod forward a lot in fights, and just kind of load up with that with the left hook, one punch at a time. Now I don't know if that's because he's just hasn't been interested, or if he says to himself, "I'm not going to chase these guys around the ring anymore." If he's bored, I don't know what it is, but he's done this for his last 5 or 6 fights, right? Really looks like he just wants to coast in there. He's not going to waste any energy going after guys who don't want to engage with him. So if you don't engage with Canelo, you don't press Canelo. This version of Canelo doesn't press you, right? He coasts, and he just throws the one punch at a time. We're not really seeing him, like I said, throw a lot of jabs. We're not seeing him put shots together like he did in the second Golovkin fight. So we haven't seen that version of Canelo in a long time, since 2018, which is about 7 years ago, right? We just haven't seen that fighter. Now, a lot of people are very critical of the Madrimov fight with Terence Crawford. And I told everyone before the fight, it's on video, I said, I don't think Crawford's going to knock out Madrimov. I thought it would be like an 8-4-ish type fight for Crawford. I thought it would be a pretty difficult fight. I thought he would win. I had him winning the fight, 115 and 113. And even Madrimov versus Virgil Ortiz, a lot of people had Ortiz winning that fight. I had the fight a draw. I'm not going to argue. A lot of people that did have Ortiz winning, they had him winning narrowly, 115 and 113. I had Crawford beating Madrimov 115 and 113. So the fight was a bit closer than I thought it would be. But nonetheless, I just don't think anybody steamrolls Madrimov. And at the time Crawford fought Madrimov, he was thought to have been, in a lot of people's opinion, mine included, Max Kellerman said it as well, Madrimov was thought to be the best fighter at junior middleweight. Yep, I had it a draw. 1 round off from 2 of the judges. Yep. So my scorecard was 1 round different than 2 of the judges. Yeah, draw. That's what I had it. I thought Ortiz got off to a slow start. Thought Madrimov was banking a lot of the early rounds, and Ortiz came on late down the stretch. So I flipped 1 round differently than the judges. And most people that had Ortiz winning had it 115 and 113, so I had it 1 round off. Hilarious. Got it. So again, we're not gonna nitpick over a round here and there. I had it a draw. So I like I said, yeah, I mean that's what you think, but the scoring was pretty much identical in both fights. I mean, Bud won 115 and 113 cards, like Ortiz won 115 and 113 on 2 cards. So again, I'm not going to argue over scorecards. You scored the fight how you scored it. I scored the fight how I scored it. So that's the thing. You know, I'm going to bring you on, Troy, in a second. Just want to go over a few more things before I let you on. So let's look at the size, because so much is being put on the size, and I'm not going to say that obviously Canelo's not the bigger guy, but how much bigger is he really though? That's the big question, because Terrence Crawford turned pro at 20 years old. He was 137 pounds. Canelo turned pro at 15. He was 139. But Canelo, even 5 years later, was like 147 in 2010. And in 2010, Crawford was 140 pounds. So again, I'm not going to say Canelo's not stockier. He's probably doesn't have more bulk to him than Crawford, but is he really like leaps and bounds bigger than Crawford? I just don't think he's that much bigger. And let's before I bring you on, Troy, let's bring this on. Let's take a look at this. Let me put that link in there for you again, Troy. After I play this, I hope you can jump on, because I want to definitely hear your take on the fight, because I always respect your opinion. Let's take a look here. Let's take a look at this together. If there's a gigantic size difference here. Yeah, see, I just don't think that there's. Look at the forearms. I just don't think that there's a gigantic size advantage here for Canelo. I mean, you can even argue they look almost about the same size here. So I'm not seeing this gigantic size disadvantage here. What's going on, Troy? How you doing, man? Can you hear me?
I'm doing good. How does this sound? Does it sound like it's crackling? How do I
No,
sound?
it
Does it
sounds
sound like
good actually. Sounds
I,
pretty good.
okay, cool. It just sounds no sound. But you know what? At first I was thinking about size myself when the fight was just talk, right? But neither one of them are big men. You have one short man that walks around heavy, but he's broad, right? And you have another guy that walks around probably around 175. He's he's long. He has length. So neither one of them are really big men. So size doesn't matter in this. It's skill and determination.
Yeah, that's true. And let's talk about Canelo Alvarez even at the higher weights. At 168, what's he got? He's got three knockouts in about 12 fights. He's got like a 25% knockout ratio at 168. Got about a 30% knockout ratio at
Does
160.
he?
Yeah, I was doing the numbers. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of knockouts above 154, man. It's not he was never. I'm not saying he doesn't hit hard. Don't get me wrong, but he's just not
Mm-hmm.
that monster of a puncher at 160 and 168 as he was at 154. You know what I mean?
Are you including the TKOs and all that in there too, and the
Absolutely,
RTVs and all
absolutely,
that stuff?
absolutely.
Because
Who did he?
I can't remember.
Rocky Fielding, right? Billy
I
Joe
never saw that fight,
Saunders,
but okay.
Billy
I
Joe
saw that fight. He
Saunders,
stopped him.
and Yildirim.
Mm-hmm.
And Yildirim. Those only three he knocked out at 160. And no disrespect to Yildirim, but I mean, Chris Eubank Jr. knocked out Yildirim too. Like everyone knocks
He
out, no
didn't.
disrespect.
He didn't stop Bird. I mean, not Bird. Plant.
Plant, Yildirim, and Saunders. Those are the three.
And who else did he fight up there?
Um,
Oh, besides these fights he's had recently, yeah. Who else did he fight?
yeah, he fought. So actually, he had four stoppages in 12 fights, so it's like 30%. He has a 30% knockout ratio. I apologize, it's four. He has a 30% knockout ratio at 168, and he's got a 38% knockout ratio at 160. So
Well,
I'm not saying he doesn't hit hard. Don't get me wrong, but he's not like
hmm
this Mike Tyson at 160. He's not like friggin' Gerald McClellan was, Julian Jackson. He's not Tommy Hearns. He is not that. So this whole
he's
thing that like he's a
yeah.
monster puncher that just blows guys out of there, and he's knocking everybody out. He's knocked out. He's got a 30% knockout ratio, pretty much above 154.
Yeah,
He's not a huge knockout puncher above 154.
well, to tell you the truth, the size, the knockouts, none of that is what's important about this fight. I can tell you what's important. You have two fighters that are viewed as two of the greatest fighters of this era that they've accomplished almost the same things, right? You know,
Sure,
the multi-weight championship. I think Alvarez was undisputed once, and he could have been undisputed three times if he wanted to be, but he just wasn't, right?
sure.
Uh, Crawford is undisputed twice. If he wins this, he'll be undisputed for a third time, which somebody's never done. So that's why this fight is so important to me, and that's why it should be, because you can't name me any fighter of this fighters of this era who's taking that risk. Because look, if Crawford loses, they'll say, "Oh well, he dared to be great," blah. The regular nonsense, right?
Yep, yep.
Alvarez Alvarez loses, they'll say, "Okay, well he lost to somebody small. He wasn't that good anyway." But the fact is that they're both putting everything they have out there, and it's winner take all, and that's why this fight's so important.
So, do you remember that fight with Lara and Canelo?
Of course, I do.
Who did you think won
Laura
that
won.
fight? Yeah, I thought Lara won that fight too. And that's the fight that I'm looking at, where I could see Crawford employing a lot of the same things Lara did in that fight. And when you look at Lara's about the same size as Crawford. He's a southpaw too, and they both have great jabs. And again, a rare punch for the southpaw, that a rare signature punch for the southpaw is that right hook. You mostly southpaws are known for their straight lefts, like Manny Pacquiao and others, right? And Crawford and
Hmm.
Lara both have great right hooks. We saw Lara in that fight land a lot of sneaky right hooks against Canelo that kind of buzzed him a little bit and caught him off guard. Same thing with Crawford against Kell Brook and against Errol Spence. He was landing some really vicious right hooks that hurt Spence and hurt Brook. So that's going to be the thing here. I think Crawford has a great jab, and we've seen Canelo struggle with fighters who have really quick jabs, who are taller and longer than him. Right? We've seen him really have problems with that. Golovkin landed a shit ton of jabs against him in both fights. He was significantly out jabbed, and that's a punch that he's kind of abandoned over the years. And he was never a huge jabber himself, but he's even become less of a jabber as his career went on. So I think the big thing here is Crawford's got the quicker feet, right? And I think he's got the much better jab. And I think he's gonna have a lot of success keeping this fight at range. And I think Canelo, because he has the slower feet and he's only been throwing one punch at a time, I just think he's gonna have a harder time getting off first and kind of tracking Crawford down and closing that gap. Because Crawford, even though he's quote unquote smaller, he's still a strong guy. He'll be able to freeze the action and grapple on the inside and tangle up when he has to, in my opinion. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, yeah, I don't see that happening because in all the years you've watched him fight, you've never seen Crawford fight like that. He has a fighter's heart and everything. He's a lion heart. He's gonna want to get in there and damage you when the time is right. He's not coming out. He doesn't come out like gangbusters. He usually loses the first couple of rounds, right? That's until he wears you down. He sees some weakness in you. Then he'll stand and trade with you a bit and move away. Stand and trade with you and move away. But he's not Laura. Laura didn't know how to step on the gas when he should have, and I guess that's what they were looking at. But if he sees that he could, this is Crawford. If Crawford sees that he could outmaneuver you, he could outbox you, he could shake you up when he hits you, he's gonna use all of that, and he's just gonna keep coming.
Yep.
Now, yeah, I don't see him doing Laura. I don't see him doing Floyd
Well,
Mayweather. He's gonna, yeah, none of that.
well, the thing with Lara though is Lara didn't run in that fight. Like he held his ground. He just kept using subtle movement. He was outmaneuvering Canelo. Like he was landing some good shots against Canelo. That was not like an evasive, overly defensive fight from Lara.
I
He
I
he
agree
was
that.
he was he was he was kind of pot shotting him from the outside, and we've seen Crawford pot shot guys like Breedis Prescott, Victor Postal. We've seen him, and even Spence. He was pot shotting from the outside, so he can do some of those things. Now, do I think he's going to fight exactly like Lara? No, I do think he can mix a lot of that into this fight, though. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, well, I agree with everything you said. I just said it. I might have said it a little differently, but I agree
Yeah,
with it. I just don't see the way I look at it is once he sees something working, and if he sees you blink or hesitate, he gonna step in. He gonna step in and put some pain on you, and then step out. Now, as far as Alvarez, he's fought people like that before, so he knows what he has to do, and he every time they get close, he's gonna beat on his side. He's gonna beat on his body, beat on his arms, the same way that Georgie Benton used to teach Holyfield. Hit him any place that's open, the hips, the arms, anywhere. Hit him any place you see open, and in time, they'll start to wear down, and that's when you could go in and do your damage. And I could that's the type of fight that Crawford is gonna fight. I mean,
yeah,
Alvarez is gonna fight. That's the type of fight he gonna. Any place he see open, he gonna go for it. And that didn't work when he moved up to 175, right?
sure.
That didn't work when he fought guys that were movers like Floyd and Laura. But this dude here, Crawford, I enjoy him because he's he's basically aggressive, and he's very competitive, much like any other great, people would say selfish, athlete, but he's not selfish. He's just who he is.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything that gets him going, he puts his all into it, and that's the hell with it. You can't change his mind, can't turn him off from it. Nothing, nothing.
You know, I'm looking at people in the chat, and a lot of people who think Canelo's going to win this fight, they're so overly emotional about it. Like if you say something in Crawford's favor, they act as if you're saying something that's so out of the realm of possibility. Like this is a tough fight for both guys, and some of these guys in the chat who are going for Canelo, they act like it's ridiculous to even think that Crawford can win this fight. I just don't see what you guys are seeing. Like Crawford is going to be quicker, in my opinion. I just think he's going to be quicker. I think Crawford's going to be getting off first. I think his jab is going to be a lot more effective than Canelo's. I'm picking Crawford to win this fight by decision. Call me crazy. I don't care. I think he's going to outmaneuver Canelo, and he's going to pot shot him from the outside. And I think Canelo, throwing one punch at a time with the slower feet, I think he's going to have problems in this fight. That's just my opinion. So to say it's
Well,
crazy to think that Crawford and again, we've seen Crawford box before. We've seen him slug it out. We've seen him fight in so many different ways. So to sit there and think that he's just going to sit there and trade, like this is going to be like a Toro Gotti versus Mickey Ward. This is not going to be that. It's crazy. It's crazy. So that's just the way. And again, the whole two weight classes thing. I don't think again like Crawford's probably a 154 pounder and Canelo's a 160 pounder. Like Canelo is not a 168 pounder really. He could easily make 160. He's 5'7" and a half with a 70-inch reach. I mean, he can make 160. Let's like enough.
no, he can't. No, he can't.
I
You
disagree.
see how he? No, no, no. Seriously, he can't. He walks around at 200 pounds.
I don't
He
think he
can't
walks
make
around at
160
200
anymore.
pounds. I've known
Yeah, he does. He's
a milk car
okay.
stood
Listen.
a milk car stood next to him, right? This is what he said.
Uh
Guy looks
huh.
like he weighed about 175, 180 pounds. He looks small. It's not that big.
Hmm.
He's not 200 pounds. No way.
Now, you're not okay. People used to say that about Felix Trinidad till they found out that he walked around at 185, 95 pounds. He walked around more than Bernard Hopkins did. People said the same thing you did. Oh, I don't think he was. Yes, he did. But all you gotta do is look at Canelo's frame. He's a fire hydrant, like Mike Tyson. He's compact, so he
You
usually
saw
walks around at 200 pounds.
you saw the video I just posted. Did he look significantly bigger than Bud? I don't think he did.
No, he's not. No, no, no. Because you go, everybody's going by size. It's not size. Don't got nothing to do with this fight because they're not that greatly. They're not that far apart in size. But but as far as the people that are picking Alvarez, I'm happy for you. Alvarez could win, Crawford could win, but the thing I hate about social media, because I used to talk boxing all the time and all that, is that too
Sure.
many fans put themselves in the body of the fighter
Thank
nowadays,
you.
and they get
Thank
overly
you.
personal and sensitive, and oh, things get out of hand, and then you're not having a conversation. It wants to turn into an argument, and some people give you the same energy you give back. It gets personal, and now you're not talking boxing.
That's right.
You're talking
These
foolishness.
people are living vicariously through these fighters, man. All I'm doing is giving you my opinion of the fight, and that's it. I think Crawford's going to win the fight. That's just my opinion.
Well, there you go. And
You
yeah,
know.
and look, I could come back and say, well, Alvarez is gonna beat him this way, and we'll just have a great go
Yeah, we'll
back.
have a
How many times?
discussion.
Yeah, how many times I've been on your show and I have you poked the bear on purpose. You did it on purpose because you want to see what I was gonna say, and then I went back and forth with you. But at the end of the day, it was a bunch of sarcasm, but it was all a big ass
All in
joke.
fun. It's all in fun. Yeah. Yeah. We just fool
Yeah,
around. We fool
yeah.
around with
So. Uh, to me, man, listen, nobody could tell you that I'm not a fan of Dillian White, right?
it. You love Dillian White.
Nah, see, there you go. I don't
No, I'm
love
just
him.
kidding. I'm
I
just kidding.
just,
You
yeah.
like Dillian White. You like Dillian White as a fighter. You've always liked his style. You like the style.
I said no. I said yeah, yeah. He's not the greatest fighter in the world, but his character. I've seen him knocked out cold. I've seen him win, and he says if he's knocked out cold, he'll say the same thing: rematch,
Yup.
right?
Yeah.
There's no conspiracy. If he wins, he'll say who's next.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the type
Listen,
of fight I
you
like.
can respect and admire somebody. That's fine. But these guys, like I don't know, they act like they're getting a chunk of the purse. It's crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't stand that. I mean, because okay, I did a show with Rick Glazier when you came on Major Key, right?
Yep.
Boxing, and we were talking about. I don't know how I got to Floyd. We were talking about Floyd's greatest fights and all that. One guy came on. He was like, "Yeah, Pacquiao's his greatest fight because he made so much money." He's like, "What that got to do with a great fight?" You talking about money? We talking about his great fights, right?
Yep.
And then the guy went back and forth. But no, no, if he didn't make it, no, if the fight wasn't great, then people wouldn't have paid for it. That's not true.
People buy and watch things for different reasons. When people are gonna watch this Jake Paul versus Tank Davis fight,
Ugh.
they're gonna watch it the same way they watch WrestleMania or SummerSlam. This is sports entertainment. So that's why it's an exhibition. So the problem is, like yesterday, they had a card on Misfits Boxing. So that's Misfits Boxing. So this people are gonna watch this for the shock value of it. They're not gonna watch it thinking I'm gonna get a beautiful uh, excellent fight. I'm going to watch boxing at its highest level. It's going to be a great fight. They're watching it for the shock value of it. How is a 195, 200-pound guy going to do against a 140, 150-pound guy? They want to see the freak
Mm,
show of it. It's a freak
there
show.
you go.
It's a circus. It's
There
like
you
going
go.
to a carnival. People stop and watch a train wreck. That doesn't mean they admire the
Thank
train
you.
wreck. Like people will stop and watch
Thank you.
anything. People again, you can. you could see a guy or a girl walk down the street naked. Everybody's gonna watch that, but that's not something they embrace. That's not something they aspire to. That's not something they
No,
actually admire. So people are gonna watch this for the sheer spectacle of it. That's it. They're not gonna watch this with the same intent that they would watch this fight coming up on September 13th. So it's a different thing. So when
thank
people
you,
call it for what it
thank you
is,
very much.
yeah. So when people call it for what it is, guys like Jake Paul can't get mad. Oh, well, this. What do you mean I'm not a real fighter? This isn't a real. No, again, this is what it is. So if someone says to Tank Davis, "Yeah, we think Shakur Stevens is a better fighter than you can't get mad. Oh, I would kill those guys. Okay, but we'll never know because you don't want to fight them. So we can say Tank Davis and Jake Paul did good business. They created a spectacle that everybody wanted to watch, but it's not going to be Thriller in the Manila. It's not going to be Rumble in the Jungle. It's not. It's not going to be that. So I mean,
No,
just accept it. So Tank can't get mad and stand up on the podium and say, why am I not on a pound for pound list? Why do you guys say Devin Haney and Shakur are better than me? Because these guys they have the competitive spirit. Now, if you want to fight and you want to be, you want to just you want to be a businessman, you want to just make the most money possible, then that's fine too. But don't try to tell people that what they're seeing is not what they're seeing. What something is not what it is when it is. That's all. That's all it is. That's all.
I,
That's all I'm saying. Oh,
well, I,
why are you getting mad about? I'm not getting mad about this fight. I'm going to talk about it because it's obviously it's in the news. So if someone asks me what do I think of this fight, I'm going to call it for what it is. They're the ones that are getting mad about it because they want to gaslight the public into trying to make this look like and seem like it's a real fight. It's not a real fight. It's not a
well,
real
I
fight.
I agree with you, man. It's not, and you know what? This fight between Crawford and Alvarez should be the biggest. It should sell more than any fight of this era, but it's not going to. It's not going to because
So
people
you
aren't really boxing fans like that.
do
They're
you
not,
think
and that's a
more
damn
people
shame.
do you think more people will watch Jake Paul versus Tank Davis on Netflix than Canelo versus Crawford?
Oh, it's that's
You think?
easy.
You
They're
think
gonna
so, huh?
watch. Yeah, well, anything with Jake Paul and people watch because it's called low hanging fruit. It's much more
All
easier
right.
to digest, right? Whereas you have to be a real boxing fan and someone who knows about boxing to really get into both how talented these two gentlemen are, right? With Mike Tyson, he had the talent, but you had 60 seconds or 90 seconds to get to your seat and watch what you was going to watch because it could be over that fast, right? You
Yeah.
know it was going to be something wild involved in the fight. And uh just stuff like that. With these two, it ain't gonna be nothing wild. It's gonna be a very damn good fight, but most people who say they're boxing fans are not gonna watch it. They're not going to flock to Vegas and have no party because these are real fighters. This is not about this ain't about nothing else but a fight.
I still think
A
the way
very,
they're
a very
promoting this
yeah,
I still think the way they're promoting this Canelo Crawford thing, they're getting a lot of cross promotion from the WWE,
good.
from the UFC, and I'm seeing a lot of social media posts on it,
Should
TikTok,
be more.
yeah, TikTok and stuff. And I think as the fight gets closer, I think we're getting there. I think this upcoming week and the week after, fight week, I think you're going to see a lot of attention. I think you're going to see a lot of ESPN Sports Center thing. I think, believe it or not, Troy, you could be right, and I could be wrong
Hmm.
here. This fight may, I think this Crawford Canelo fight could be the most watched boxing event of all time. That's just
Uh,
my
of
that's my
this era
opinion.
of boxing, of this era, yeah, it should be. It should be because where before have you seen? Okay, let me read off the accomplishments real quick. Right, between the two of them is 104 fights. I think it's 80 or so knockouts, only two losses. Right, you have you have two fighters, and between the two of them, you have five. Is it five? Undisputed championships, or is it two, or is it
Well,
three? I think it's
here you have
three. 3. Mm-hmm.
Canelo became undisputed twice because they stripped him and he won it again. But for all intents and purposes, we'll just say once,
Okay, so
okay?
five, so five undisputed, and you have, I think, four, unified, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So where else in this era have you ever seen fighters like that risk it all and get in the ring like that without all the talk on social
Listen,
media? Who ask for this outrageous amount of money that no one's gonna pay them, right?
I was telling people the highest paid boxer on the list of on the Forbes list, and he was number three for athletes was Fury, and he fought the best of his era in Usyk. Although he lost twice, he still got rewarded monetarily. So the best fight, the best versus the best, is still a winning formula financially. Like, of course, you're going to have your outlier fights, like Tank versus Jake Paul and Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. But again, a gimmick only lasts for so long.
Yeah, but Fury was just what you said he was. He was kind of a freak show too. You know,
Oh
he had
yeah,
the
oh
dad
yeah,
body. He had the big ass
oh
mouth
yeah.
and stuff. He knew how to talk, and
Sure.
he got Deontay in the corner, and he licked his neck. It looked like, and he's just good with wordplay too. Him going back and forth with Wilder, him going back and forth with White, him going back and forth with anybody is a good play. So
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. So, are you going to make a pick for this fight, or are you going to sit on the fence?
yeah, I'm
Who do you
picking Crawford.
picking Crawford too? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm picking
I'm
Crawford,
picking Crawford.
but it wouldn't surprise me who won. But I'm gonna stick
Yeah,
with
it's not.
Crawford
It's
because I
again.
know,
It's
yeah,
not crazy to think Canelo could win the fight. You know,
there's
but
nothing crazy about that at all.
no, not at all. Like if someone says Canelo's going to win the fight, that's fine. I'm not. "Oh, what do you mean? Like these guys and like some of these guys out there on social media and even in this chat, they think it's incredulous if you pick Bud to win.
No.
It's not incredulous. A lot of people are picking Bud to win. A lot of people. A lot of boxing
Hmm.
insiders are picking. Like even Dougie Fisher, he's picking Crawford. I think Steve Kim and Mario. I think Mario Lopez is picking Canelo, but I think Steve Kim is picking Bud too, if I'm not mistaken. So
Well,
there's a lot of guys that I know that I'm picking Bud. Eric's picking Bud. Ringside Robbie's picking Bud. There's a lot of people picking Bud. So this is not
ringside
like
Robbie.
crazy. Yeah, Ringside.
Nothing that's for certain, man. The only thing that's for certain is taxes and death, to quote Marvin Gaye. Nothing is for certain. But
No, not at
on
all.
that note, I'm gonna go jump off and
All right,
take
man.
care
I'll
of some
catch up to you,
business.
man. Nice hearing from you, man. I hope all is well, man.
Yeah, it was good. Good hearing from you, man. I don't know who else is fighting next, and really, a part of me don't even care anymore. But
Yeah,
if I see something,
boxing's been so inconsistent, but you know what? We'll take them when we got them, right?
it's their own fault because we
Yeah,
got great fights that you could make right now, and no one wants to. You listen,
that's right.
even me. You have some fights you could cash out on right now. People that are just going away. You could put Derek DeJoura in there with uh, um, Shannon Briggs. These are all in the UK, by the way, right?
Sure, sure.
You could put Deontay in there with Big Baby Miller because they hate each other, right? It's all on the same card now, right?
Yeah.
And then you take White, right? You put him in there with Joseph. No, not Joseph Parker. Juggernaut, right?
Joe Joyce, that's a good fight. Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Joyce, and then whoever wins that, you set up another card, and you got Anthony Joshua on the card with Hill. He wants to fight this boy here. Who's the YouTuber you just mentioned?
Jake Paul.
Jake Paul. So yeah, you put that on the card, and whoever wins, they'll they'll settle it up with Usyk after all of that. And it
That's
could be
right.
let's say craziness happens and Jake Paul wins and he has to fight Usyk. That look at that! I just made three cards in one, and that people would watch.
Yeah, there's fights out there. There's definitely fights out there. No doubt
Yeah,
about it.
but all right, brother. You have a good day.
All right,
I got
man.
some work to do.
I'll catch up with you, man. Have a good one.
All right. Mm-hmm.
All right, man. Be good. Yeah, that was my man. Troy. Good to hear from him. Yeah, so I think there's going to be a lot of similarities to this Irislandi Lara Canelo fight. I know it's a long time ago, but I can see Crawford doing a lot of the things that Irislandi Lara was doing, particularly with the jab and that sneaky right hook, and just really using a lot of that quick, subtle movement on the outside. Because if you look, Irislandi Lara did a great job of keeping Canelo at the end of that jab, keeping the fight at range. I'm not saying Canelo didn't ever get inside, but most of the fight early on, particularly until he did get caught, because Irislandi Lara did get caught with an uppercut that busted open his eye, and that's when he started slowing down a little bit. I think that happened. I want to say in the eighth or ninth round of the fight, and that's when things started turning for him a little bit. But yeah, I do see Crawford employing a lot of those tactics, and the jab is going to be working overtime. And I do think the sneaky surprise punch for Crawford is going to be that right hook. And we saw Canelo against Irislandi Lara get hit with that a lot, and we've seen Crawford use that in a lot of his fights to a high degree of success. He had a high degree of success with it. So I think that's going to be a sneaky punch. That's going to be the sleeper punch for Terence Crawford going into September 13th. And I think yeah, I think that Crawford's going to win this fight by unanimous decision. I'm excited for the fight. I'm looking forward to the fight, and hopefully the fight does live up to the hype. Hopefully we get a great fight, which I do believe we will. I think both fighters. I think Crawford definitely has more to gain here than Canelo, and I don't want to just be unfair to Canelo, but again, if Canelo wins this fight, they're just going to say he beat the smaller guy moving up. But if Crawford wins, this is much more important for Crawford's legacy. So I could see just Crawford just wanting it that little bit much more, right? Because obviously all fighters fight for money, but Canelo never wanted this fight. And the only way this fight got made was because of Turkey Al Sheikh. Turkey Al Sheikh opened up the vault for Canelo, and he made him an offer he couldn't refuse when it came to the money. Whereas Crawford was going to take this fight regardless. Like Canelo, you can say what you want, but if Canelo does win this fight, I just don't think this is a legacy enhancer for him. Whereas this is a gigantic legacy enhancer for Crawford. And I know that's not fair, even though the odds are tight. Whatever the case may be, at the end of the day, it's already being labeled as such, right? Crawford moving up two weight classes. He's really 140. They're already saying it, right? They're already saying it, but Crawford could shut them all up on September 13th, which I do think he will. I do think he will. And this is going to definitely be a fight for the history books for Crawford. For Canelo, he's in a no-win situation. I guess the money is the only upside. Obviously, it's a big upside, but in terms of legacy, that's going to be the only thing for Canelo here, in my opinion. So, and I don't think we're ever going to get that David Benavidez fight. I don't think we're ever going to get it. I hope I'm wrong, and I'd love to come on there and say I was wrong, but yeah, I don't think we're ever going to get that. So, but on a final note, yeah, I do think Canelo's bigger, obviously, but I don't think it's that much of a size difference as people are saying it is. Um, in all actuality, they're probably about 7 or 8 pounds difference. Still a decent amount, but it's not like Usyk going up against Dubois and Fury, giving up all the what's Usyk giving up 25 pounds against a guy like Dubois, giving up like 30 pounds, 35 pounds versus Fury. Again, skills pays the bills. Look at Usyk and the weight he was giving up And look at this. I would argue, come fight night, these guys will probably be about 5 or 6 pounds difference, if that. Maybe 5 or 6 pounds difference, if that. So it's not going to be like Usyk going in there giving up 30, 40 pounds. And I know, heavyweights, there's no weight limit for heavyweights. They always do that. Hey, listen, it is what it is. Most of the time with heavyweights, they're within 8 to 10 pounds of each other. They're not 25, 30 pounds difference. I mean, of course, there's going to be some cases where that happens, but so Usyk gave up and has given up significant weight and still come out on top. There's no reason why Crawford can't give up 5 or 6 pounds, 7 or 8 pounds tops against somebody who you could argue is not as skilled as him. And I said argued. I'm not saying it's debatable. I think Crawford's more skilled overall. I think he's more versatile. I think he can do more things. But again, we're going to find all these things out on September 13th. All right, till next time, Beeb is out. Make sure you check out the Ringside Reporter podcast later today, 6 p.m. Eastern Time with myself and Eric Lauder. I will be back this evening. Hope you all tune in and make sure you join us. Call in if you'd like. Until next time, Beeb is out. Talk to y'all soon. Peace. Have a good one.